Hello, everybody. It's good to see you. So today I'm a little bit in an informal setting, no script in my video today. And this is more of a vlog style video because I have some things to talk about in response to these times that we're going through. There are a couple of things that I want to talk about, and I'm going to start with just talking about the response that I got to some recent posts. I've been posting on my social media, especially on Blackout Tuesday, this past Tuesday. I posted the term Black Lives Matter, and that I was in support of everyone that's going through turmoil right now in the United States in healing systemic institutionalized racism in the United States. And so I used the term Black Lives Matter. And I was really disheartened and actually really saddened to see that there were quite a few reactions from people who were just completely triggered by the term. And so I actually had a big headache at the end of the day from trying to respond and teaching people and helping people learn new things, why the term was being used. And so it was really an interesting day, and I learned a lot, and I want to kind of share my experiences with you guys and also talk about something that's really important for us all as spiritually awakened beings right now on this planet. Okay, so first let's talk about the Black Lives Matter term. Okay, so the reason that that term is being used now is because it's not because only Black Lives Matter. It's not because other lives don't matter. The reason that the term Black Lives Matter is being used now is because for thousands of years on this planet, Black lives did not matter. Only white lives mattered, okay? And this is a profound shadow, a profound wound that we have on this planet. It's not just in the United States, okay? So everybody, every country in different way has this same shadow. I could give a ton of examples. We're looking at the United States right now because things are a bit chaotic right now, and the media is very pointed at the United States all the time. But racism has existed on this planet for thousands of years, from India having a caste system that's tremendously racist, from people in Asian countries still to this day use a lot of times whitening substances to bleach their skin so that they become whiter. In a lot of Asian countries, they don't like to go in the sun and get tanned. Why? Because whiteness is prized, all right? And I can keep giving examples over and over again of around this planet where the whiteness of your skin was the only thing that mattered, okay? This has happened for thousands of years. So when we use the term Black Lives Matter now, it's not in any way to diminish anyone else's life. It's simply as a way of bringing that profound shadow of racism up to be seen so that we can once and for all see it in ourselves, heal it, and then help heal the planet, all right? So that's a little bit on that term. Now, why is this term triggering to you is a whole other question. And this is what I want to talk about too, because you guys know me by now. I'm a healer. I'm an alchemist. I have a shamanic path. So I really like talking about shadow aspects and healing because it's just a part of my journey. So when people message me and they're all triggered because I used simply the term Black Lives Matter, you really have to start looking at why you're triggered and why that's so uncomfortable and why that bothers you, okay? Because again, there is nothing inherently wrong with that term, and I just explained why it's being used now and why it's necessary, okay? So on its face, that term shouldn't be triggering to anyone. It should be plainly obvious that all lives matter, yes, in the grand scheme of things, but for thousands of years, Black lives have not mattered, and that's why it's important to bring that shadow up to be dealt with right now, okay? So that's one aspect. If you find yourself feeling triggered by these conversations about race, whether you're in the US or not, if you find yourself being triggered by these conversations, please, 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 instead of shooting a hateful email to me or leaving a horrible comment on my social media, please, when you are triggered, go within and ask yourself why you're triggered, because this is a mantra that I'm going to repeat until I'm blue in the face, till the end of my life. I always use this mantra, and it's one of the most crucial mantras in my own path, and the mantra is, triggers are my best friends, okay? So when you are triggered, please go within and find the source of that triggering and heal it within yourself. This is super important right now, okay? So that's a little bit on the whole Black Lives Matter term, why it's being used, and also why when people leave comments and when we're having this conversation about race, when you leave a comment that says all lives matter, to people who have been victims of systemic oppression for thousands of years, when you say all lives matter, it feels dismissive and insensitive. Okay, so that's why this is important for us to have this conversation, and that's why it's important for you to really think if you want to get into the racial discussions, if you want to get into the healing of this profound wound on this planet. It's not just in the United States. If you want to participate in this, you've got to be willing to question your own beliefs, to learn new things. I mean, I even had someone email me so pissed off that I had shared on my link tree, I shared a bunch of links on my Instagram account for people to learn in this time. And I got an email from someone all pissed off that, you know, how dare me share these links and ask people to go read because she didn't need to read all this because apparently she already knew enough information. You know, I've been getting these emails and these comments. It's just so disheartening to me because, you know, I pride myself in having a beautifully spiritually awakened community. And so there are a lot of shadows coming up. And let me tell you, it's not just in regular 3D reality, it's within the spiritual community also. And that's what I want to talk about now, okay? So I had some comments of people saying to me, you know, when you use that term, you're already in separation consciousness. When you use the term Black Lives Matter, you're in divisiveness. All right. I had a few people say this to me. And so I want to go into this because this is important to address. We have to really, really, really learn all of these different things that are happening on the planet and the different paths of healing. Okay. So when we spiritually awaken, and I'm going to raise my hand because I am guilty of the exact thing that I'm now going to say, okay? I'm guilty of having done that. When we first spiritually awaken, one of the first things that we do is when we go from unconsciousness to consciousness, suddenly we have this temptation to kind of isolate ourselves. I'm just going to be over here in love and light, and I'm going to meditate, and I'm going to send love and light and peace to the whole world and unity consciousness, and I'm going to be in 5D, and I don't care about no more interacting with 3D. I'm done with that. I call this fairy dust spirituality, okay? And again, I'm going to raise my hand because I'm guilty of having done this. And when I started teaching, I would teach this. I would teach that it was just better to, you know, when you come into unity consciousness, just be over there, hold your light, and basically, you know, just let whatever else is playing out in the world play out in the world. You're over here holding light, just let whatever play out, okay? Well, I've changed. I've changed, and I'm going to keep coming in front of this camera, maybe the rest of my life. I'm going to keep coming in front of this camera, showing you all how I'm changing and how I'm evolving and how I'm starting to see things differently. Because although I did believe that that was the only way to be spiritual, I no longer believe that that's true, okay? That is one way of thinking about unity consciousness, but there's another way that I'm going to present to you also, and it's what I call engaged spirituality. That means that when I awaken, I'm going to go through my own healing journey. I'm going to heal my shadow. I'm going to work with my shadow. I'm going to go into the depths. And I am going to hold the torch. I'm going to hold the light as strongly as I possibly can. But then inevitably, I'm going to grab that torch and I'm going to walk right towards the darkness with my torch, as opposed to just hanging out just with other people that think like me and other people that are doing their light work thing and other people that just want to hang out in spiritual communities and put up quotes of beautiful things happening and completely ignoring what's going on around the world. That's not my type of spirituality. So I practice now what's called engaged spirituality. That's a spirituality that's very grounded. So it's a spirituality that says that I'm going to look at my own shadow, and then I'm going to grab the torch of my light, and I'm going to walk into the darkness of every dark corner of this planet. I will walk into it with my light so that I bring light to darkness. So it's a different path. Now, I'm guilty of being a little bit judgmental of the path of just holding your light over here and isolating yourself and just, you know, the what I call, that's why I call it fairy dust spirituality. I'm guilty of having a judgment towards that. I'm working on it. Mea culpa. I'm working on it, because in the end, there's no wrong path, all right? There are just different paths, okay? But when so when someone used the term, for example, the comments that I got saying that I was being divisive by simply using the term Black Lives Matter. The reason that these comments were coming through is because, again, there is this understanding in New Age spirituality that in order for you to be spiritual and to hold the light, you sort of have to isolate yourself away from the 3D, all right? This could not be further from the truth, in my opinion. In my path, I'm here with a very strong shamanic path. I am here on this planet to work with my shadow, shine my light as brightly as I possibly can through healing my own wounds and doing my own transformation, my own alchemical transformation, and then grabbing that light and taking it into every dark corner of the planet. Where I see that the light needs to shine, I will go there and I will implant light. That's also an honorable path as any other path, okay? What happens a lot in New Age spirituality is that when people wake up, they start to think that the only way of waking up is being over here in this place, right? I'm just gonna meditate. I'm gonna pretend nothing's happening around the world. I'm just gonna hold a broad view and I'm just gonna let everything play out. Just let the 3D play out. Let everybody just murder each other and do whatever. And I'm just gonna stay over here holding the love and light, okay? This to me is a form of escapism and spiritual bypassing. And I used to do this and I'm no longer doing it. All right. So, and I'm in front of the camera being humble about the fact that I admit that I did this and I'm now changing. And I'm giving you this kind of testimonial so that if you want to change the way that you view spirituality and the way that you live your spirituality and the way that you live your spiritual awakening, you can see from my example what I'm doing. If it resonates with you, great. If it doesn't resonate with you, again, that's great. You can go back to love and light and isolating yourself. Again, there is no wrong path. But here's a little bit into what it looks like to be an engaged spirituality, because I think this is important. Engaged spirituality is when you do your work, you work with your shadow, and then you bring the light into darkness. But what does this exactly look like? All right. The reason that I was saying a little while ago that New Age spirituality has a lot of bypassing and escapism in it is because when I am unwilling to look at the shadow both within myself and in the collective, because the collective, the macrocosm and the microcosm are very similar. So we heal individually very much in the same way that we heal collectively. So when I'm working with a client, the first things we do is we go to the bottom of that client's pit and we work on their wounds, their shadow. We bring that shadow into the light and we heal what needs to be healed within that individual. Well, collectively, it's the same thing. And one of the things you hear me say constantly in my video is that you cannot heal what you don't see. You can't heal what you don't feel. You cannot heal what you're not aware of, what you're not willing to be aware of. And so in a lot of New Age spirituality circles, there's this bypassing, this escapism, where anything that's going wrong on the planet, we're just not going to pay attention to it, and we're just going to stay here cocooned in our love and light. And that's where the bypassing comes from. Because when you are doing this, what you're doing is you're not bringing your light into the darkness. And in order for me to bring light into the darkness, I have to allow the shadow to be seen, okay? So going back to the example of Black Lives Matter, that's a shadow that must be confronted and seen. It must come up. So when I say Black Lives Matter, I'm not being divisive. I'm saying there's a shadow, there's a wound that needs to be seen and healed. We must all recognize it in order to heal it. And what a lot of people are doing in New Age spirituality circles is they're saying, oh no, oh, what a horrible term. All lives matter. We just have to be in unity. We have to be in unity consciousness and all that. That's dismissive of the wound, beautiful souls. That is dismissive of the wound. You can't get into unity consciousness unless you go through the wound, beautiful soul. You cannot get into unity consciousness without going through the shadow. All right. Shadow work is incredibly important. So I'm just, I'm leaving this here for you guys. for you to ponder a little bit more. Ponder why, if you are resistant about looking at the things that are happening on the planet and engaging with the things that are happening on the planet. And it doesn't have to be racism. I'm talking about a shadow aspect on my social media. I'm talking about a shadow aspect that's important for me, all right? It's important for me. I'm on my own journey. I'm allowed to be involved in whatever areas of healing I want to be involved in, but it doesn't mean you have to care about that. You can care about other things. So you can be involved in bringing the shadow up and protecting nature. You can be involved in animal rights protection. You can be involved in whatever it is, whatever shadow aspect is coming up to be healed. But just because you get involved in bringing the shadow up to the light doesn't mean you're being dismissive. It means, in fact, that you're being courageous enough to confront the shadow, to see it, to integrate it, and to start the healing work, okay? And this is uncomfortable work. I was I was talking to a dear friend of mine yesterday. She's like a dear, dear soul sister, and we were on the phone for hours yesterday. And we were laughing because we were saying to each other, why on earth did our souls choose to do this path? Because, and we were just chuckling, but it's true. Because this path of being this is a shamanic path. A shamanic path is a path where I grab my light and I'm not just content in hanging out with other lights. I grab my light and I literally walk into the darkness with it so that the darkness may be illuminated. All right. That's a very shamanic type of spirituality, a very shamanic path. And the reason we were chuckling about this is because it's so much easier to be isolated and holding your love and light because there's no challenges coming from the outside environment. You're not getting involved in anything. You're not getting involved in life. You're not getting involved in the stuff that's happening. But for those of us that are on this path to hold our torches and walk into darkness with them, we are being called to be engaging in our spirituality, meaning that we are very aware of the shadows that are coming up and we are engaged in healing them without being afraid. This is work that sometimes is uncomfortable. That's why people are getting so triggered with the whole Black Lives Matter term, is because it's uncomfortable to start talking about these things, because it's tremendously uncomfortable to still believe and understand and know that there are certain people on this planet where their lives don't matter as much as other people's lives. It's very confronting to go into that shadow, but it's necessary work, even if it's uncomfortable, okay? And that's what I'm here to do. That is what I'm here to do. And if you follow me, if you watch my videos, if you resonate with my message, chances are you probably have the same path also, but you may just be stuck in what I'm calling the fairy dust spirituality. And there's nothing wrong with being stuck in that. I was too. It's a very alluring field area of spirituality. It's very alluring because I could just hide out in fairy dust spirituality. I could isolate myself and then I don't have to do the difficult work. Shadow work is difficult, okay? So I wanted to leave this here. I wanted to go into this because, you know, there are more challenges are coming onto the planet. It's not just the George Floyd thing. It's not just racism. All of our countries are going through challenges right now. And if you are on this path, if you are on this earth, to be able to do your inner work and then hold the torch and walk into the dark corners of the world, if that's your path too, you're going to have to learn one way or another. You're going to have to learn of not being afraid of confronting, of seeing shadow, and of working with shadow, okay? And that takes practice, right? That takes practice. But I'm here to say with this video that I just want to leave you with the message that there is more than one way to bring unity consciousness onto the planet. And fairy dust spirituality, where you're bypassing and you're not really confronting what's going on, that's one way of doing it. But there are other ways, and I'm presenting you a different way of doing it, all right? So I'm going to continue. This is my life path. I'm going to continue to bring up issues that I think are important to bring up. It doesn't mean they're the only important issues, but I'm going to continue bringing up things that are important for me because, you know, my passions and my own shadow work that I'd like to do, the particularities of my healing work on the planet are going to continue. But we're all doing this work in one way or another. So my invitation to you today is for you to, if you're bothered by this whole Black Lives Matter term, if you're bothered by going into the shadows of the world, if you're feeling like you want to isolate more and you just want to be in love and light all the time, I invite you to think to meditate on this, to understand whether you really are here to isolate yourself and just completely remove yourself and just be over there and let everything else play out in the world, or if you're here to grab your light and take it into the dark corners and bring light that way. All right, so this is an invitation. This is an invitation. I just wanted to drop by and have this conversation with you all. This is a conversation. So leave in the comments below, comment about what you think. You don't have to believe that I'm right. Again, I'm not your guru. I'm just presenting you different ways of looking at things, and then you choose what's right for you, all right? But leave in the comments below what you think about this, what you think about engaged spirituality, about going out into the shadow and shining light. Is this difficult for you? Are you having trouble doing this? Or do you think I'm just full of crap and that, oh, there's only one path of being in unity consciousness, there's only one way of doing it? Let me know. I'm not afraid of listening to comments. Let me know in the comments below. All right, beautiful soul. These are challenging times on earth, but we can absolutely hold unity consciousness within our hearts while we confront injustices and while we confront shadow aspects that need to be seen. We can do both. This isn't an either or thing. We can do both. We can hold unity consciousness while we work into the shadow. It's harder. Yes, it's a harder path, but you can do it. And if you've been watching my videos and hanging out with me over the years, you're learning how to do it just in the same way I'm learning how to do it, because I put myself in front of this camera every day. I put myself in front of this camera, and it's for you all to learn, not just from the things that I learn along the way, but also from my mistakes and the things that I look back on and I was like, what was I thinking? That's also important too. All right, beautiful soul, engage in the comments below. I love you. Be well.